All right, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Good Afternoon Ghana. My name is Ania Fompof. We're live from the Akia Bohima studio at North Ridge. And this afternoon, our attention has been drawn to the security matters in our country. We have the 2021 security report put out by the Bureau of National Safety, Nanaya Akwada and his team. We're going to analyze this issue with other pockets of violence that erupted over the weekend and some areas claiming lives and confusion as well. We will be having this discussion with Adib Sani, who's a security analyst, who will join us via Zoom. Nanaya Akwada is also Executive Director of the Bureau of National Safety. And then we also expect to have DCOP Kwesi Furi with us also to tell us their part of the exercise in terms of ensuring peace. So far, the IGP has received lots of applause from people, but how are we, performing to make sure that we improve the situation of security in the country? We'll be talking more about this issue, but for now, let's take a breather. When we come back, we'll get started. All right, welcome back to Good Afternoon Ghana. So let me just take you through the report that we received from Alexander from the Bureau of Public Safety. And it says that the Bureau of Public Safety has reviewed that violent crimes in the country went up by 4.8% compared to the situation in 2020. This was contained in a 2021 edition of its annual report of Ghana Public Safety and Crime Report. Data in the report indicated that associated deaths also went up by 53.7%, representing a record jump from the previous reports. So the report also found that the Ashanti region topped the chart for the region with the most number of crimes incidents for the year under review. Ashanti region is the murder capital of the country, returning 23% of all homicide cases reported across the country in 2021. Now, Central region also dominated reported aggravated assault cases across the country by returning 23% of all aggravated assault cases reported for the period. Now, firearm use in the commission of the reported violent crimes has also increased for the third year in running, increasing in year 2021 by 57% over year 2020, the report also stated. Now, with the data suggesting that more than 70% of the top three incidents of violent crimes occurred during the place of abode of the victims, the Bureau of Public Safety called for a public education about situational awareness and dangers in transitional spaces. It also emphasized the need to expand community policy, while suggesting that state-mounted CCTV cameras should be deployed and footage occasionally released to the public to promote awareness and serve as a deterrent to would-be criminals. So that's just a summary of its report. We have the full one. We definitely will read it to you when it's necessary. But let me also introduce a guest to you. Adib Sani is a security analyst, and he's joined us. And then Nanaya Akwada is the Secretary Director for Bureau of Public Safety. He's also joined us. I'm told he's via Zoom. Is Nanaya on now? Okay, Adib, you're welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us here.
My pleasure, always.
In the studio. Also, let's go into the phone lines and speak with Nanaya Akwada, who leads the Bureau of Public Safety. They have reviewed, released these reports, and they will tell us more about it. Nanaya, thank you for your time, and you're welcome to Good Afternoon Ghana.
Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to you.
Good to you.
And good afternoon to Adib also in the studio.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Right. Okay, so Nanaya, first let me ask you, the 2021 reports, did you have any changes in the process of gathering your information compared to 2021? Okay, Nanaya is a bit frozen. Let's see if we can.
Yes, your line or my line
Yeah.
became a bit glitchy, but basically, you are asking if there was any changes in how we
You gathered.
gathered, validated, and analyzed our data.
Mm.
The answer is no. We maintain the same process and system of capturing, validating, logging, and eventually analyzing the data that we've captured. I believe that after doing this since 2017, we have finally assumed a certain level of consistency, which we are comfortable with. Going forward, what we will seek to do is to desegregate the data furthermore so that in future we'll be able to tell you the demographics of victims, demographics of perpetrators. I actually try to develop a heat map of, of violent crimes for Ghana and all. But these are things for the future. But we've maintained the same approach that we did for 2020.
So you will tell us more about the demographics of the research methodology. Approximately when? You have been consistent, you say, from 2017. So 2017, 2018,
Yeah.
2019, 2020, 2021, about 6 years. Right? Am I right? Is it 6 years now? Yeah.
Yes, we've been doing this the last 6 years.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that moving on, we're asking if we've changed anything in the methodology. And I indicated to you that nothing has changed. After 6 years now, we've now, before this year, I think last year, there was a slight change. 2 years ago, we did a slight change to the data gathering and everything, which we put up with every report. For 2021, we have maintained the approach that we used for 2020. And so I'm saying that we've assumed a certain consistency now, and that moving forward into the future, we will be desegregating the data further to ensure that what we will have will be a lot more meaningful to the ordinary man on the street. For instance, if we come up with a heat map of violent crime, you'll be able to see which areas are charged and which areas are less charged by city, by towns, which we don't have for now. Currently, what we have is up to the region level, and that's how come we are able to say Ashanti region, and in highlight number 3, we are able to say Ashanti region is the mega capital of the country.
All right. So that will mean that we can definitely go by the outcome of the reports, because nothing really has changed. There has been consistency and constant variables over the period of about 6 years. But with the outcome, what do you think has changed with the people, or maybe with the law, that is affecting the results, where we are reporting an increase of violent crimes by 40.8% compared to the situation in 2020?
Okay, so basically your question is, what do we think informs this increase in the violent crimes at 41%? We would say, this research is purely a quantitative research. The qualitative aspect, probably I'll leave for my friend Adib to make those intelligent guesses. I think early in the morning we had a program together, and it happened to have into areas that I think he would do much better in talking about it. So I'll leave the parts that, if you like, influences these increases to Adib. But on the face of it, we know that crimes have gone up by 40.8%. In our conclusion of the highlights, we raised a few issues that such crimes, violent crimes, were occurring outside of the homes of people, which means that criminals have become more bold now. They are perpetrating their activities on the highways and on the roads, and whilst people are in transit. So I'm sorry I have to say this again, but Metro TV, you like showing very, very graphic images, and it kind of disrupts me when I'm in my line of thought when I'm making.
Let me just prompt the
So
producers to watch it. My producer, I beg you, if you can just.
It's not the
reduce.
first time though, but
I remember you've actually complained about the same thing before. Apologies for that.
Unfortunately, sometimes your questions are not pre-screened questions. So some of them we have to, stand on our feet and respond to. And such graphic images really knocks us off our line of thought. So I want to plead with the producer to be mindful.
Apologies.
So as I was saying, we have said that the crime have moved from the homes of people, from the fortresses of people, to the roads and the highways, to when people are in transit, either going to work or coming from work. That's when violent crime is happening. So we need people to be more alert or scan their environments. We need education to go down well with people, to be minded that, look, it's no longer safe out there like it used to be. We need to get the state to deploy the CCTVs mounted across the country, the footages that they have actually gathered over time, and the crime activities that we've been lucky enough to capture. We need to be putting this out there in a timely fashion, so as to enable people to give the police more information to help them do their job. We have stated also, and I'm afraid, Adib, if I'm eating into your space, we need to get the police to improve on the community policing. That's the police visibility program, whichever terminologies one would want to employ. It is no secret that the visibility policing is fizzling out of the system. It is no secret that the kind of energy, vigor that the program started with back in 2013, that kind of energy no longer exists. We no longer see the police on our streets. And criminals have taken advantage of this absence, and they are perpetrating crime against the people and against people's properties across the country. I believe some of these things are what may have informed or, if you like, influenced the crime activities increasing in this manner. And the fact that it has the deaths associated with violent crime have gone up by 54%, I think that is a matter of concern for anyone, any state actor engaged to secure people and property.
So let's situate it in the case of the regions where we already have Ashanti region topping the charts for the most number of crimes. With what you have just explained, can you just break it down with the regions and maybe give us a bit of some explanations as well why it is, as we see within the Ashanti region, the Central region, which is second, and other regions? Why do you think that's also happening?
Well, first of all, I have people have questioned how come Ashanti region is the murder capital of the country. I do not have answers to that, except that I know that, and in the year under the year under review, Ashanti region reported a greater portion of all the homicide cases that we captured, and that is 23%. As to what really informed it, I'm unable to tell, but I know also that a lot of these incidents were domestic in nature. A few of them also occurred outside of the people's homes. But the data that we analyzed based on the reports that we captured indicated that Ashanti region retained majority of the homicide cases across the country, which is why we said that it is the capital of the country in terms of murder. This data is consistent with what the CID or the Ghana police itself put out there sometime in August, where they also reported that majority of the murder cases that have come under their radar emanated from Ashanti region. We indicated also that when it comes to armed robbery, Greater Accra and Ashanti region were the regions that most of these incidents also occur. It will be important that the police, having had, if you like, the benefit of this report, to strategize on where to put their resources in terms of combating armed robbery, where to put their resources in terms of ensuring that murder cases do not, overshadow or continue to lead in the violent crime space. We also saw that in Central region, a lot of the aggravated assault cases that were reported across the country also emanated from Central region. And this morning, one of the journalists, funny said that if Kaswa alone can make Central region lead in the aggravated assault cases. And so when it comes to the region, that's all we have. But I believe that when you look at the report in detail, you should be able to find other aspects that will be of interest to both your listening public and also to the police work.
Let's talk a bit about the offensive weapons. So in the report, it says that firearms are the most reported offensive weapons used in the commission of violent crimes in 2021. It is the most preferred weapon for criminals. Firearms use has been on the rise since 2018. And in 2021 increased by 57.6% over 2020. I'm not sure if you are going to commit some resources to conducting research on firearms possession, especially illegally, maybe anytime soon.
Well, my dear, we would want to. There are several aspects of this report that needs further researching and further analyze. And unfortunately, the Bureau of Public Safety have very limited resources. We'll be happy, for instance, if United Nations Development Agency calls us and say, look, we have seen this report. We want you to do a further research into this area for us. We'll be happy, more than happy to lead this kind of research. Adib and I have been with the Small Arms and Light Weapons Commission, helping them draft a law. I believe that maybe from this evening through to Thursday, I'll be seeing Adib because we are working on that with the Small Arms Commission. So we'll be happy to get funding to pursue this area. But it's important to learn that 58% was a nearly 58% increase between 2020 and 2021 is phenomenal. It's phenomenal in the sense that in 2019, the figure between 2019 and 2020, the increase was just about 22%. And then between 2020 and 2021, we are going near 58%. That is phenomenal. And I think any state actor who is in this space should be worried. It's very important that the Small Arms and Light Weapons Commission, whatever work they are doing in collaboration with civil society organizations and experts, we facilitate it. We do it really quickly to stem this tide, because at 57.6, chances are that if even you take an average, by the close of this year, if nothing significant is done, we will be hitting the 70% mark, and that will be disastrous for us. As a country that is about the most peaceful in the region, to populate our space with this number of guns that we cannot account for will spell hell or doom for our democracy. And so the earlier we took an action, the better. And like I indicated, I'm happy that today the Small Arms Commission have assembled people that beginning tomorrow morning, we are also validating a law. It's just at the validation stage. I pray that the kind of speed with which the president pushed through e-levy and assented to it to become law, he's going to attach the same level of importance to it for us to see something good happen.
All right, let me have a deep come in. Some of the graphs are being displayed on the screen. So just in case you find it on the TV, those are the graphs we are actually speaking to. Producer, if you can just so that's the offensive weapons graph showing the increase of the usage over the period. So we have 135, 165, and then 260. So we have the knife and machete also rose from 90 to 106 to 151. And then we had others. Let me just stay with you. The others graph showing 62, a drop to 54, and then an increase in 88. These others include what and what and what?
These others include, stones, acids, and other poisoning, and other things that we cannot, they were not mentioned in the stories, but the story has been verified that it was a murder case, but the murder weapon is not stated in the story.
All right. Let me come to Adib now.
Annie.
Yes, last week I read a story on crimes, and I was thinking, before the report was released, I was actually thinking, looks like we're having an increase in gun usage where crimes are, happening. And the report has just confirmed what I was thinking. I couldn't speak to it because I was no authority and I had no report to back, data to back my assertion.
Well, it's a fact. I'm not surprised by the findings of the report. But first of all, let me congratulate my brother, Nana Yaw Akwada, for such a great job done. In the US, for example, every year they have what they call an annual threat assessment report. That is public document that all US citizens have access to. That talks about the threats, both domestic and international, and the need for the people to know. So they are able to take practical steps to keep themselves safe at the personal level, at the domestic level, and at the community level. So this report is going to help you and I become very aware of the threats we face on a daily basis. Now, we know full well that criminals have gone beyond coming into our homes or knocking at our doors at 2, 3 a.m., but rather stealing from us, even on the roads, transitional spaces, basically meaning that is not your final destination or place of abode. Just as I got to Metro TV, I saw a friend outside. It's a transitional space, and one can be attacked at any time. So these reports raises awareness, and it makes people understand that, hey, crime is on the increase, and they need to be security smart. And back to the causes. I mean, there are a whole lot, and Nana Yaw Akwada has touched on a lot of it. As at the first half of 2021, and this is according to the CID, 313 murder cases was reported. And according to the CID, they were able to ascertain that 306 of the 313 were actual murders. But Annie, believe it or not, out of all of these 306, only one had been closed. And in criminology, there's what we call rational choice theory. It is simply based on the premise that before anyone perpetrates a crime, he's human. He's able to juxtapose the pros and cons. He's able to tell that it is risky to perpetrate this crime. If I perpetrate it, the probability of me getting caught is high. Mm-hmm. So the person is invariably disincentivized. But if crime is committed on a daily basis and only a few people are held to account, obviously what it means is they are having a field day and are motivated to continue perpetrating those crimes. So we really need to look at the investigation regime. I've had the opportunity to speak with a number of investigators who contend that most of the processes involved is manual. If you go to other jurisdictions now, they use DNA databases, biometrics, and all that. And it helps. For example, I come into this studio, I might have touched some surfaces. If a crime is perpetrated, the police would come, apply the powder, harvest the fingerprints, run it in the system, and to be able to tell them, yes, indeed, Adib was in this studio.
Yeah.
It makes their work much more easier, and it would, in the long run, discourage people from perpetrating crime, knowing full well that they will be caught. Secondly, the issue of the usage of guns. It is something that we have been talking about for some time now and doing something about it. However, we cannot do it alone. Like Nana Yao stated, we would need the politicians to push it. So we are able to, for example, make the Small Arms Commission, which is currently an advisory body, into a regulator. So they can work efficiently and effectively in controlling guns in the system. The last figure we have is from the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center in a baseline survey conducted in 2014. That points to over 2 million guns in the system. So, and you can imagine, 6-7 years down the line, how many more of these guns might have been in the system. And a lot of it has to do with the porous nature of our borders. I have friends who work with security services in Chad, Niger, and they tell me sometimes how they are able to impound, vehicles with guns headed towards Ghana. And we need to do something about it. We need to do something also about the local gun manufacturing industry in Ghana. For years on end, our approach has not been scientific enough. It's not been sustainable. We look for them, arrest them, and we think that is it. But we need to get to the nitty-gritty. Why do they manufacture it in the first place? Believe it or not, it's a means to a living for most of them. So if we find them alternative source of livelihoods at the same time enforcing the law, I think it can help to a very large extent.
I mean, getting to the nitty-gritty of it, I was thinking that it's almost all over the place. We're hoping to have Kwesi Pofori. We're not getting him yet, so as and when he joins us, we speak to it. But it seemed to be all over the place that the police has an unwritten policy, shoot to kill. I don't know who doesn't know about this. And definitely the crime or the criminal community, if this information gets to them, you can imagine what that will also do as far as their operations are concerned. So whenever they are planning to operate, they will also definitely plan to combat or to kill. That's if they have the chance.
Yeah, you see, I have some concerns about it. I mean, periodically we hear in the news, police gunned down 3 suspected robbers. They gunned down 5 suspected robbers. But the question is, if the officers who gunned down these suspects come back to tell their superiors, they are suspected robbers, do they follow up to confirm that, yes, indeed, they are?
Yes, because for example, just what's happening in Akache is what has also degenerated into something else, because the police is claiming the one that was shot is a robber suspect or a criminal, and the people are against your weight against ours.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, there's the need to always investigate, even if it is a shootout, to ascertain whether the use of deadly force was allowed under such circumstance. Because there's always a high propensity on the part of especially some officers to use deadly force as a first resort rather than last resort. Mm-hmm. They are quick to pull the trigger. I mean, there are instances somewhat where they saw the police and he's cocking his gun. We need to ensure accountability. You see people storming to police stations and registering their displeasure in a despicable way, destroying property. as a result of the negative or toxic relationship between the police and the people,
and the
in that
people.
area.
So, not to cut you, the recent one of the police officer that was arrested recently, I mean, actually being investigated by his own institution, who was trying, actually not trying to pull the trigger on a civilian who was trying to call his attention to do what's it called, proper driving, whatever, on the road. If you have a scene like that, and I am a citizen, and I'm seeing a police officer cock his gun over a small misunderstanding.
No, I mean, that is very unacceptable. But I have issues with the police always investigating the police. I mean, you cannot take away the human element bit to it. I mean, Annie, you can imagine if you are asked to investigate your father or your mother, okay? If it is a misdemeanor or something unethical, fine, we can make the internal process take precedence. However, if it is criminal, I think we need to make it much more transparent, because in the past we've had several cases involving police officers doing the wrong thing. Internally, they do the investigation only for them to come out and say, oh, he was not wrong, after all.
And then sometimes they say
because
they
of-
use internal structures
to deal with
and
it.
you don't know what
You don't
is.
know what happened. And usually it's as a result of two factors. One is an attempt on the part of the police to not drag the service into disrepute. Secondly, to preserve morale of some sort. And when it happens that way, it's detrimental to the police itself, because it gives a lot of, especially young officers, it drives them into thinking that the uniform grants them invincibility, and they continue doing the wrong thing. You remember the case of the Kumasi Zongo boys?
Yes.
They were killed. Their bodies was paraded. We all saw it on TV. The guns were paraded. They said they were robbers. An investigation was conducted into it, only for us to get to know that they weren't. We go to their families, oh, take 100,000, take 200,000. Nice doing business with you, and that's it. The same with Ejura, and it's highly likely that what happened in Tamale would go the same tangent. I think when it happens that way, it makes a lot of Ghanaians lose confidence in the police. They don't cooperate with them. They might have information that can help the police break cases before them. They would not cooperate with them. I remember at the height of the gang violence in Nima, I was there. The police came around in an attempt to gather information. I remember there's this lady they spoke with, and there were boys in the background trying to stop her. They didn't know I spoke Hausa. And when the police left, you can imagine what they did to the lady. They chastised her, and she regretted speaking with the police. And nobody is willing to speak with the police, all because of the kind of relationship, people's attitudes, perceptions about the police in that area. And that, I must say, would also account for an increase in crime.
I this morning when I was on the show, I was actually trying to equate people's perception to things that happen. So the discussion was on the fact that people's expectation from government is too high. And my response was that it's too high because the government's promises are high. You cannot, segregate it differently from what people don't just sit down and start thinking.
Of course.
So if you look at Ejura, for example, look at the reports that came out. There are doubts, and I remember people bashed me for criticizing some of the, outcomes. The Tamale incident, we saw military also deployed. Sometimes in those cases, they reinforce the police with military.
Exactly.
And the military operates differently. Once they get onto a field, they've been trained. I don't know if I'm wrong, but they've been trained for war front. So the moment
exactly.
yes, so the moment you deploy them, they attack, the situation with a different approach compared to that of the police. Ayawaso West Wogon, reports came out. It was, sent to the president. Some of the response that came from the president,
The white paper.
the white paper, he actually says that somebody was slapped in defense. I don't know what that means. And the president honestly got that wrong. he couldn't possibly have said that. After that, he hasn't come back to apologize for that statement. It's still there, lingering on the minds of people. So both the military and the police are no more friends for the citizens who are armless, but now they will try to arm themselves no matter what, who they're fighting.
Well, it is a fact that some people have decided to take matters into their own hands by illegally acquiring weapons in a quest to defend themselves because they feel that the police might not be able to do that. If you look at what we call the 9 pillar principles of modern-day policing, as propounded by Sir Robert Peel, who is the father of modern-day policing. He founded the Metropolitan Police in the UK. Later, he became a British Prime Minister. It's all hinged on harnessing your relationship with the citizens so you are able to engender their support. If not, you wouldn't be able to do your work. So if there's no accountability, you can go out there in the streets, slap civilians because you feel you have powers vested in you. You can abuse your authority. Know full well that you are even making it more difficult, more complicated for you to perform your work because there's no way you can effectively do that without the people. So we need to ensure. And I remember when IGP took over as a substantive IGP, one of his priorities was to build that trust and confidence. We've seen a number of interventions, we've seen a number of reforms, but there's still a lot more that has to be done going forward. So we are able to get the people to be part of that process. But Annie, it is also instructive to note that we shouldn't always ask ourselves what government can do for us, but ask what we can do for government. Security is a shared responsibility, and that is why I'm very happy about this report, because it would get Ghanaians to understand that they need to wake up and do something about their personal security at the domestic level, community level as well. As much as we can, let us invest in surveillance systems. That is why when there's a surveillance system within a premises, it is written, CCTV in operation here. It's not for the aesthetic bit of it, but just to draw attention to the fact that whatever you do here, you'll be captured on CCTV.
Right.
And it discourages crime. It's part of what we call situational crime prevention. You see someone spending $500,000 Ghana to buy a car and cannot spend 600 cedis to install a tracker on it. For example, in Tamale, we had a lady, very prominent lady. She's doing well. She bought a V8 Land Cruiser. It was snatched from her. To date, the car has not been found. There's no GPS tracker on it. Azoka, of all people, had his vehicle snatched as well. A gentleman went to a washing bay with his Prado. Just as they were done, he was walking towards the vehicle from nowhere. Some people just pounced on him and took the vehicle away. Okay, so let us invest in security. Even if we don't have the money to invest, we can follow certain basic protocols. For example, there's something we call security audits. Okay, when I mention this, people think it's the preserve of experts, but anyone can be a security auditor. Enter the criminal mind. Walk around your house. Ask yourself, if I'm a criminal and I want to access this home, where would I pass? Just yesterday, someone called me looking for cameras that criminals broke into his home. I asked which route they used. It said they used the kitchen door. That is our Achilles heel. Criminals always use the kitchen door because we let our guards down there, especially for those of us who live at the outskirts of town. You know, it's developing. There are a lot of uncompleted buildings. Right. There are these area boys who smoke in these uncompleted buildings. They keep an eye on us. They know we are going to work. We would return at 5 or 6. And when we go, they are able to break into our homes. We need to be mindful of all this. Now that e-levy will be operationalized next month, a lot of us would keep hard cash on us. Never let anyone know you have a lot of money on you. Never. be conscious
But sometimes
of
they
your...
don't come because they know. They just come because they suspect.
Yes, they suspect, but mostly, so they place people under surveillance, largely, before they attack, because they are coming for the money.
Allow me to just take a brief, break. We'll be back shortly. Okay, you're welcome back to Good Afternoon, Ghana. I'm still in the studio with Adib Sani, who's a security analyst. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking of your organization.
Center for Human
Center
Security
for
and
Human
Peace Building.
Security. It's so long. Center for Human Security
And Peace Building.
and Peace Building, yes. And then Nanaya Akwada is also still via Zoom. He is with the Bureau of Public Safety. All right, so you were making a point. Let me conclude with you, and then I'll, land, and then I'll come to
Yeah,
mine.
so basically, we all have a responsibility. We need to be conscious of our environments.
Yesterday, I was in a shop, and there was this man, family man, who's come home, and he honked. It was late in the evening, around 8 something, and he honked, and expecting somebody to come and open. So I was asking my friend, I was like, Ryan, why is this man not calling his people before he gets home? So they just opened the gate and he just entered. People don't seem to be very conscious of some of these things. And this definitely should not be the government's responsibility.
And that is a transitional space. And you know what people do? When they get home, even at night, at their entrance, then they leave the car running. They step out of the car, go open the main gates, come and sit back in the car. Some years ago, a lady with 2 kids in the back of the vehicle did that, and some people just appeared from nowhere, took the car away with the kids. Luckily for her, they dropped the kids at a radio station and went away with their car to date. Okay, so even if there's nobody at home, let us invest in what we call automated gates. It comes with remotes. Even if you don't have the remote on your phone, you can open at the point of opening, you are entering and closing. Because what the criminals do is they wait for you outside.
Yeah.
That is why I always advise, make sure the frontage of your house is well lit. And if you are coming home, especially at night from work, give a high beam to be sure there's no one loitering around. Even if you see someone passing by your entrance, don't enter. Just drive by until there's no one around, and make sure you clear the entrance of your home. Don't leave weeds all over because the criminals can easily hide there. Then you come immediately, you arrive, enter and close. If not, they enter the home with you. That's what they usually do. So we need to be conscious. We need to be alert. Sometimes at home, I become so alert. My wife thinks I have a disease called paranoia. but those are the dark realities. You need to rise up. Even the children, we need to teach them. They should be part of the security management process. If someone knocks the door, uncle, they rush, they open the door. Teach them. Except mommy or daddy, even if uncle comes, don't open the door. Never open. Some of them, they don't have the luxury of being driven to and from school. They walk to school. Do we teach them? If someone calls you to come for toffee in his room, what to do? Let us not be tempted to think these children are naive. They know more than we think they do. We need to continue the education process.
So let me also give you this information from the Nanaya Akwada's Bureau of Public Safety Research outcome. Types of vehicles. I think this is type of vehicles that are actually tracked by criminals. And it says truck, heavy goods, recorded 26%. High occupancy vehicles recorded 24%. Pickups recorded 2%. SUVs recorded 6%. Motorbikes, rickshaw, bicycles also recorded 19%. Saloon cars, 23%. Wow.
Right, I want to.
So commercial vehicles also rose to 234. Private vehicles, I'm sorry, I just missed my graph. Okay. Private vehicles 160, government 7%. What does this mean? Nanayao, what does this figure actually mean? The types of vehicles figure.
Very well. So, you know, the public safety and crime report, 9 indicators. So there is the transportation.
I'm sorry, I'm having a very terrible, terrible feedback. I don't know if there's some fan blowing into your mic.
Yes, there is. I just figured out, just go off and then let me see.
Okay, I think it's
Check
better.
my guy.
Yeah. Okay, it's better now. Go ahead.
Okay. Is it better?
Yes. Did you put an earpiece or something? Okay, Nanayao. Okay, so let's see if Nanayao can fix the issue. Adib, I don't know if you can help me with this one. The vehicles, as I was asking Nanayao.
I didn't hear
The
that.
percentages that I was actually reading out on the graph.
What I do know from my sources with the police is usually the criminals, they like snatching the Toyotas and the Hondas.
Okay.
The Toyotas and the Hondas. I don't know whether it's partly due to how quickly they would sell it or perhaps the parts, because I understand sometimes when they snatch, they are able to break it into bits and pieces and sell it. And you know, Toyota and Honda parts are widely sought after, so it is likely to be as a result.
Okay. Is Nanayao there? Okay, I lost Nanayao, but I think we will just give me a final words. I think time won't allow us to get Nanayao back on the line. So, final words. This whole report. What should we do? Government and the people.
I think that governments would really have to commit into dealing with the fundamental issues. I mean, for years on end, our posture towards crime prevention has been militarized. Let's go after them, let's kill them, let's grab them. No, but we have underlying causes. A lot of it has to do with the human insecurity. So what is happening is a consequence of human insecurities.
Okay.
Lack of jobs, people not having access to basic necessities of life, healthcare, water, food, and the rest. And until we deal with those fundamentals, trust me, whatever other measure we resort to might not be sustainable enough.
Right. Adib Sani is a security analyst, and we also had Nana, who is in charge of the Bureau of Public Safety, giving us a report of what is happening. That crime obviously has gone up, and firearms use has increased by 40%. Violent crimes went up by 40% in 2021 as compared to the previous year, 2020. We'll be analyzing this, going forward. But for now, this is what time will allow us here on Good Afternoon Ghana. I am Ania Fwampofo.